Hey everybody, what's going on? I'm DJ Sixsmith. You're watching Sit Down. Super Bowl champ Joe Theismann's here with us. Joe, what's up, man? How are you?
I'm good, DJ. I hope you're having a good summer. Now that we get a chance to get out and see each other socially, as opposed to just stare out the window and look at people, hopefully go by or somebody drive by in a car and wave at us. So, and my gosh, most places are without masks. Isn't it nice to be able to see the smiles on people's faces again, as opposed to going,
Yeah, it's nice that life is returning to normal. People are enjoying the summer and
whatever normal is,
whatever we can take at this point, whatever we can get. You're going to be playing a little golf in Lake Tahoe, the American
Yeah.
Century Championship. How excited are you for that?
I'm excited. I did not play last year. Actually, it turned out I hurt my shoulder last year. I wouldn't have been able to play anyway. But this year we're going to have fans at the American Century Tournament. It's July 9th through 11th. And the American Century, it's called the American Century Golf Tournament. I want to just talk about American Century for a second. And I'm going to take a second to read exactly what they do. But the American Century gives over 40% of their profits to the Stour Institute for Medical Research. It's a world-class biomedical research organization dedicated to defeating life-threatening diseases. And it's just, imagine 40% of what you make being given away to charity. And that's what American Century has done for all these years. Over $5 million has been donated to the charities in the Lake Tahoe area and other charities. So it isn't just a chance for us as quote unquote celebrities to get out there and play the game of golf. And I mean, John Smoltz will be there, Marty Fitch, Jack Wagner, Catherine Tappan, Annika Sorenstam. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. 16 Hall of Famers, 13 MVPs. I mean, Cy Young winners. Great entertainers. So you have a myriad of different types of people. And this year there's going to be fans. So we're hoping that they show up and have a chance to cheer us on. The 17th hole at Edgewood Golf Course is a little bit like the one in Phoenix. Matter of fact, I think we were the first to have crazy people on the hole, because what they do is they park their boats on the lake, and it's right along the lake there. And it's unbelievable. I mean, you shoot baskets, the music is blaring, people are screaming and yelling, and it's just a ton of fun. It really is. It's a great chance to see people that you haven't seen in a while too.
There's a lot of good stuff going on. So how's the golf game looking these days?
Pretty good. After you and I get done, I'm back to the practice. My putting drives me crazy. It's not me. It's not the puttee. It's the putter. So I've gone through probably 40 or 50 of them. I've narrowed it down to 5 now. And I've really got one I think it was good to me yesterday. Now, I have no idea. I swear these things have a mind of their own. They may be made of metal and fiberglass and everything else, but I swear there's a brain in there somewhere that decides what you want it to do.
You never know what's going to happen with your putter. And listen, that's just the way it goes. You never know what's going to happen in an NFL game too. But the cool thing is that fans are going to be back. And, last year was crazy, obviously, with the pandemic. So what are you most looking forward to this fall with the NFL coming back in full force here?
Actually, you said it, the fans. I'm looking forward to watching people cheer and scream, watching the NBA championships now with the stadiums full. It just, you hear the crowd, you hear the impact that they have. And believe me, fans do make an impact on a football game. They really, really have a way of influencing, the communications in particular. It does make a difference. It was sort of weird watching the games without fans, but I did that. In 1974, when I joined the Washington football team, we played, it was during a strike year, and we played at RFK Stadium. I played in front of 5,000 people in a 55,000 seat stadium. And every signal you called echoed. To be like, you go, hut, you go, hut, 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 hut. It would echo through the seats and everything. But it was a weird feeling. Our guys adjusted, I think, tremendously to it. I think there's going to be great competition also. The division that the Washington football team is in is going to be a better division than it was. Of course, anything was better than it was last year. Winning the division at 7-9 doesn't speak volumes, but hey, we made it to the playoffs. I also want to see what the young guys are going to do. What's Zach Wilson going to do in New York? What's Trevor Lawrence going to do in Jacksonville? What's Tua going to do in Miami in his second year? What's Joe Burrow going to do in Cincinnati? So a lot of focus on the young quarterbacks that are coming in. And of course, you can't ignore the old man of the river there, Tom Brady. It's phenomenal what he's done, DJ. I mean, gee whiz, 44 years old. And a real tribute to him is the fact that in this day and age of a money grab everywhere in life, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have managed to keep all 22 of their players. every guy decided to come back, I think, and play with Tom, because I believe they feel like they can go undefeated. I really do. I think they believe that they can run the table, and don't be surprised. I'm sure there's a prop bet out there somewhere.
They got a nice team. Yeah. There's something to be said about when you can keep it all together, especially after you win a Super Bowl. And, you just mentioned some of the guys that you look around the league. I mean, you're one of the few that played this position, won a Super Bowl, competed at the highest level. Who are the other guys you look at in the league and you're like, I like what that guy is about. I like what this person is doing over here.
Well, I'll give you just a young guy, small sampling of Joe Burrow. I liked what I saw out of him in Cincinnati over a short period of time. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers to me is the greatest pure passer that the game of football has ever seen. And I mean this in a couple of different ways. His release is the quickest. His spin on the ball is incredibly tight. His accuracy is uncanny. And when you take those three things, now there's been different guys in the league that have thrown pretty balls. There's guys that have gotten it out of their hands quick. There's guys that have had great accuracy, but never in one individual like we see in Aaron. So I love to watch him work, especially when he improvises, which he does a fair amount. And so I feel bad for Matt LaFleur, by the way, just as an FYI up in Green Bay. I mean, this was going to be his third year with Aaron, and now who knows? I at first thought it'd be 80-20. He'd be back in Green Bay. Now I'm feeling the other way.
He's got a lot of questions.
He's one of the ones that's going to play in the golf tournament out there too. So those are ones I'm curious. I'm curious about Tua. I'm also curious about the Titans with the addition of Julio Jones. I mean, you can look around this league and you see additions, and you think that that makes the Titans more difficult to defend with Derrick Henry back there. And Brown. So, and then I'm curious about the Washington football team. How will Fitz do in Washington? So there's lots of curiosity in this particular season.
No question about it. I want to talk about your football story. You're a kid growing up in South Jersey. You go to South Bend and play at Notre Dame. What's most memorable about your time with the Fighting Irish?
The first time I ran into the stadium, 50,000+ people screaming and yelling. You got the band on the left, the student body on the right. And what I really love is what Notre Dame did was they kept the old stadium and built up superstructure around it. So it's 85,000. They added 30,000 seats. And of course, the press box and everything is just magnificent. But I'll never forget, when you're in the far end zone, the library has the mosaic of Christ on the cross. And when you're in the far end zone, in the way the old stadium was set up, you could see, it was called Touchdown Jesus. You could see Jesus with his hands up and just above the chest level. So there was. And I always envisioned being backed up like on the 5-yard line if you were an opposing team, and you're looking out at that Notre Dame defense, and all of a sudden you look up and there it is. There's touchdown. I'm thinking, you got to be saying to yourself, what? I mean, come on. It isn't bad enough I got to play the 11 guys on the field, but now we're going to go with divine intervention as well. But just running out on that field the first time into that stadium was sensational. We had a wonderful run there at the university while I was there. And I worked my tail off to stay. I went out on 2 dates my first 2 years in college. Same girl. It was, I had a girlfriend back in my hometown in South River, but didn't hardly see her. She was away at college. And I just dedicated myself to football and my studies. And I shot pool for about 4 or 5 hours a day when I had time. So managed to get the third best on campus, but it was a way to enjoy yourself and relax a little bit. But I just loved everything about the university. We had a curfew when I first went there. So it was back, and it was all male at that time as well. Of course, our women's sports, our women are just incredible now. I mean, you look at what they've done in field hockey and soccer and basketball, the national championships they've won. It's just it's a wonderfully diverse university at this point.
Yeah, you had an extraordinary career there. And, the crazy thing is that you had to go play in Canada in the CFL. I mean, some guys today just wouldn't believe like that. How did that all go down for you?
It was interesting. I'd run into a negotiation problem. I thought I was smart enough to do the negotiations myself. DJ, a little advice for everybody: hire a professional. Okay, don't think you can do it yourself. Just because you have a degree from a university doesn't mean that you can do that. Although I did do my last contract with Mr. Cook by myself because he was going to give me whatever he wanted to give me. So if I sat there with an agent, it wouldn't have mattered at all anyway.
A little bit more established at that point than
I had a little water run under the bridge at that point in time. But I wound up having a disagreement with the Miami Dolphins, who drafted me in the 4th round. I went to Canada for 3 years. I was willing to stay, just like Warren Moon did and Doug Flutie did. Those guys stayed up in Canada for a long, long time. I would have stayed more than the 3 years, but as it turns out, the owner decided to go on an economic freeze, and so I wound up. George Allen traded a number 1 pick to the Miami Dolphins for my rights, so I actually wound up being a number 1 pick in the National Football League. Of course, it's never been simple and straight line for me. It's always there's a left turn, a right turn, there's something else to go over to get where you are. But and then I spent my first 2 years with Washington as a punt returner.
Wow.
And I loved it. Matter of fact, I've told people before, if there was one thing, if I could be physically healthy to play one game, going into the game, good Lord, let you stay healthy, and then all of a sudden you come out healthy, I'd return punts. I loved it so much. I just absolutely enjoyed it. I did it in college, my first 7 games in college before Terry Hanratty got hurt, the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback, and then wound up playing quarterback there. And then in Washington, I returned punts for the first 2 years, then sat for 2, and then wound up playing in '78.
Well, it just speaks to your range, right? You could do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I was jack of all trades. I asked Sonny Jurgensen one day, he said, the more you can do, the quicker you wear out. So I managed to squeeze 15 years out of the game, so I didn't wear out that quick.
So how do you go from punt returner to winning a Super Bowl as a quarterback?
It's the players around you. It's interesting. I out here in Lake Tahoe in the tournament we're going to talk about in a little bit. I love to solicit conversations with different people. Catherine Tappan, for example, is going to be there. Annika Sorenstam, one of the great female golfers, women golfers ever. I like to ask them what made them great. And I'll never forget asking Troy Aikman one day. I said, "What made you great?" He said, "The people around me." Emmitt Smith, failure was not an option. Tom Brady had a great response to that question. It was the right time, the right place, the right people. And for me, it was the right kind of coaches. I had a coaching staff that believed in me and gave me a chance to play in '78. But I just wanted to contribute. I love football. DJ, I got to tell you something. I'm reading in the off season that there are guys that they didn't have voluntary camps in some of the National Football League. Why? For God's sake, you're not doing anything.
You couldn't get enough of it. You'd be there as soon as you could be.
Geez, you sit in a meeting, you get a little bit ahead getting ready for training camp. You get a chance to see the guys you haven't seen in a while. You get a chance to work out in the facilities. Oh my God, this is crazy. You actually get better at what you do. Mm-hmm. Good heavens, in this society today, should we try and work to get better? And it's like, it was just fun for me. And returning punts was part of it. I did it in high school. I did it in college. I did it as a pro.
And I think you have great perspective too, because you're somebody who played the game for a long time, but you had an injury that prematurely ends your career, right? And that just colors your whole experience. So what is the biggest what if for you? Because you've talked so much about the injury. Is it, if I could have come back? Is it if it could have happened in today's world with the medicine technology? What do you still think about when it comes to that injury? It's
funny. I really don't. It was a blessing. I had so much success, an MVP of the league, world champion quarterback. Heck, in '84, I was the 4th highest paid player in the National Football League at $1 million a year.
That was back then.
These guys pay 10 times that in taxes. Okay. and good for them. God bless every one of them. I'm thrilled for them. But it really happened at a time in my life where I was sort of becoming very full of myself. I just felt like I was the cat's meow. It was all about me. And I've long since learned a lesson that we're put on this earth to serve, not to be served. And through my injury, it opened my eyes to a lot of things, a lot of my relationships, my appreciation for what I have, not to take for granted the things that we're given every day, like life, to be able to live it, to be able to do something with it. I have very few regrets in my life. I'm not a rear view mirror guy, DJ. I look through the windshield. I want to see what's out there. I can't change what happened yesterday. I can affect what happens today, but I can't change what happens yesterday. I wish I'd applied myself more for Super Bowl 18. I'd won a championship. I thought it was pretty good. I really sat on my laurels from that. I was an MVP of the league in '83, and we go down to play the Raiders, and for some reason, the week just didn't go well for me mentally. Practices didn't go as well. I felt really good up until Friday, and then Saturday, not as late Friday, Saturday, and then I played a bad football game. But I was a lack of preparation by me, I think, that really contributed to why we weren't able to do the things that we were capable of doing all year against that football team. And taking nothing away from the Raiders. They were an unbelievable football team. Then they added, not only were they a great football team, but then they added Mike Haynes. Oh, thank you very much. You know,
Yeah, it was quite a squad.
A Hall of Famer, okay? Listen, I'm up in Maine doing a speech after we lose the Super Bowl, right? And I'm listening to how I'm sitting in this room. It's winter, it's cold. I'm in this little cabin by myself, and I'm watching TV, and I watch Howie Long come on. And Howie says, yeah, you know, we got into Theismann's head and he was afraid of us. I threw a shoe at the TV. I was still harboring bad feelings about that particular day. But I wish I'd have applied myself more. And it was a great lesson for me. It's one of the things I talk about in the book is preparation. You know, the book took 4 years to write. It's not a long book. It's 162 pages. And it's really the relationship between the world of sports, the world of business, and our own lives. And that's the way I've laid it out. And it's not all me. General Colin Powell, for example, talks about leadership in it. And I talk about Bill Belichick and, you know, the way I perceive the way that he establishes things up in New England and the success that they've had, and other people that I look at it as extremely successful, not only in business, but as people.
What does it mean to you that you can impact people with the book, with, you know, what you're talking about with your football career, what you do after football? You know, how special is that for you all these years that you can have this type of influence?
Well, I've been blessed to be on this earth long enough to be able to experience so many things. And you know, I try and help anybody. I help young quarterbacks. I help young players. I'll help any person that really looks for help. In the speeches I do, and I do a lot of motivational speaking. Now I'm finally back in front of people again. People will ask questions. Like I had a guy ask me a question. He said, I talk about writing down goals. He said, I write them down, but I don't follow them. What do I do? I said, start it simple. You know, make the goals achievable for yourself. Get used to being able to achieve it. And then one leads to the next, to the next, to the next. The book, basically, I call myself really Joey Appleseed, DJ. There's suggestions. This is the way I live. This is what happened to me. If it works for you, great. If you're in a different direction, great. The last part of the book, basically, the book's dedicated to the men and women that defend our freedoms. And the book at the end of it is a thing that Derek Jeter had on one of his websites. It's a letter to my younger self. Mm-hmm. And just you as a young guy, I mean, what would you tell your younger self at this stage of your life? If you could write a letter to your younger self, what would you tell yourself? I think that's a great exercise for all of us. And so, you know, for me, it's been a great journey. And, you know, I want to be able to help people find what they want in the direction that they want to go in. And if I can offer some way, if through a presentation or through the book, I can provide a little bit of shine a little light on something where they have a chance to be able to figure out where they want to go, it's a good feeling.
Well, you have some great perspective and plenty of great stories. Joe, thanks for hanging out, man. Enjoy the golf in a couple of weeks, and we'll talk to you down the road, all right?
Thanks, DJ. Take care of yourself.